Again, everyone, welcome to the DOB Now Build, Withdrawal, and Supersede industry session. My name is Tamika, and I'll be taking you through a couple of processes regarding our December 2020 release. Am I clear, Mark? All right, I think I heard feedback. Am I coming across clearly?
Yes, you are. Go ahead, Tamika.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so in this mini session, we will briefly be going over the introduction of DOB Now, since you should have already went through the other courses. And then we will be getting into the topics on the right, such as withdrawal of applicant of record, withdrawal of contractor, and supersede of applicant of record. Today, we're leaving everyone on mute. So there's a Q&A to the side with some DOB experts. You could type all of your questions in there and they would answer you. As I said, microphones would remain on mute. So ask questions. Anything that we can't answer today is usually updated in the FAQs. So here's just a little insight on the modules that currently exist in DOB Now. We have build, safety inspections, licensing, biz options, and essential construction. If you didn't know, well, today we're focusing on DOB Now Build, where you would be submitting these requests. So let's get into it. In the past, withdrawals or supersede requests were filed on paper or sent through the DOB Now help form by selecting what I selected here in red. But as of December 28th, these requests can be submitted via DOB Now Build. The contractors and applicant of record must submit withdrawal requests in DOB Now Build. The applicant of record will now request supersedes also in DOB Now Build for filings that are in post-permit status only. That's the key word here, post-permit only. And what Mark told you is now you have to kind of understand where you're filing what. So I'm just going to head to the help form on the actual site. I'm going to copy and paste this link so I could show you how you would determine, how you would know what to do and where to file what. So I'm just going to paste this in here. This should look familiar to you. Did it load? Okay. So on this page where you would usually file those requests, let me just zoom in a little bit more. So we have the superseding letter and the withdrawal request here. Let's say I click superseding letter. Open. Why? Okay, one sec. Okay, it's loading. I usually use Google Chrome. I guess Internet Explorer gave me a little more extra steps. But yes, this PDF should pop up depending on any browser that you have. And now there's a workflow built in to determine where you're doing the help for, whether you're doing the help form or whether you're filing in DOB Now Build. So just follow the yes or no questions and it should direct you on where you're filing what. And then you have the actual form here. All right, so we've provided that for you so you could keep up with that. Let me just head back to the PowerPoint. So everything within the slides to follow would also be followed by a short demo. The demos are also available out on YouTube. Now this page looks a little bit crowded, but this identifies the withdrawal and supersede requests that would be continued to be filed using the help form and the requests that could be in DOB Now Build post permit only. So keep the sheet handy. So just some other benefits of the transition from the paper filing into DOB Now. It includes submitting job filing online. You have real-time access. There's greater transparency since all of these requests and filings have status bars. And then we hope for faster processing time since everything is now digitalized. Now, when you head to nyc.gov/DOB Now, you would come to this page where the portal and the public portal lie. You can access the industry portal, which you create the files and check the status of your filings and submit requests. And the internal portal is where where you would log into view files without using a password. Public portal. The two main key stakeholders I'll be talking to today are the applicant of record, which could either be a registered architect, professional engineers, or licensee, or the contractor. There are various reasons why someone may need to request a withdrawal or supersede of an applicant of record. Currently, these requests, well, not currently, before December 28th, you would have filed it on paper or through the help form, but everything, I'm going to start with the withdrawal of applicant of record, and then I will show you how to do it. So let's go through these steps once you log in into the industry portal. So when you come to your dashboard, you can check that your permit is issued, and then you can proceed to find the job filing you'd like to initiate the request on. Now, once at least one of the permits on the job filing is issued, you could proceed to initiate the withdrawal request by using the Select Action drop-down menu under the Filing Action column. Clicking on the Side Action panel, because that's new as of December, you would see now you have a side menu. The Home button will open the list of dashboards. So after you've submitted the withdrawal request, it would also log there. And as you see here where I have number 2, there are many different dashboards now. But for the requests, you can specifically just head to all of your withdrawal and supersede requests to see the ones you have already created. If you didn't submit it as yet, you can hit delete. Now, the email or role being used, which is the stakeholder or applicant of record or owner to initiate the withdrawal request, it will automatically be listed as the requester and it cannot be edited. So ensure that you're signed in correctly. The information within the General Information tab must be verified, and then enter the comments or reason in the comments box, and then click Save in order to move on to the Documents tab. So just to reiterate, where I have number 2, it automatically listed that login as the person that's making the request. So you really have to be mindful of the email being used to initiate the request. Now, once you hit save, just as when you create a job filing, at the top, the status bar appears indicating that the process has begun. You get the withdrawal request number, and then on the right, there are some quick action buttons where you could actually click on the job filing number to view the details of the job filing associated to the request. So let me just explain what the statuses mean. Once the process begins, the status would be in pre-filing. Once submitted, it goes on to pending QA assignment, and then the QA review, and the end result of approved or rejected. The request number starts with WR and then followed by a 9-digit sequence number. There is no fees associated, so the Pay Now button will not display. Now let's move on to the second tab after General Information, which is Documents. No specific documents are required to submit the request. If there are other supporting documents you would like to upload, you could also do that by just clicking the plus Add New Document button. Then once you move on to the Statements and Signature tab, if the requester is the applicant of record, both the owner and the applicant of record will be required to attest. However, if it's the owner that's making the request, then only the owner's attestation is required to be signed. So there's a 2-to-1 relationship here. So if it's the applicant, both. If it's the owner, only the owner. So keep that in mind. The withdrawal request would have a status of pending QA assignment once submitted, but the job filing status would change to on hold pending withdrawal of applicant of record. As usual, all stakeholders will receive an email notification about the change. So here I just highlighted what it would look like. Now, if the withdrawal request is approved, a series of updates occur. The job filing status would change to on hold, applicant of record withdrawn, and the status bar displays a red exclamation point. The PE or RA that was withdrawn, because they kicked themselves out, they would only have read-only access to the filing, and the applicant information on the job filing will remain blank until the stakeholder is identified. And of course, the system will not allow additional withdrawal requests to be initiated until the withdrawn stakeholder is replaced on the PW1, right? Because there's nothing to withdraw if it's blank. Now, let's discuss the impact on PAAs. You cannot file a PAA on a withdrawal request, but if a PAA is in progress, the job filing will be updated to display the withdrawn user as the previous stakeholder in the application highlight section. If the PAA was approved before the withdrawal was approved, the PAA will not be impacted or changed. And here I have in green the first PAA with the previous applicant of record, and then on my P2, I have in red a new applicant of record, just to show you an example. So job filing statuses. Now, if it's rejected. Now, if it's rejected, it's going to revert to its previous status if the withdrawal request is rejected. You would find the rejected status within the withdrawal and supersede dashboard I highlighted earlier on, and you would have to submit a new request since you cannot resubmit the rejected request. Now, let's just talk about the impact on everything. So this slide here, it shows the impact on other transactions other than PAAs. When the request for withdrawal of an applicant of record is submitted or approved, other transactions related to the job filing will be impacted. So the job filing, permit, AHV, and LOC, they would all be on hold pending withdrawal of applicant record once it's submitted. Now, once it's approved, everything would also turn to on hold applicant of record withdrawn. And then I also told you in the previous slide, if it was rejected, it would just revert to whatever status it was in before. So yes, I went through these slides with you, but I'm now going to play a video piecing everything I said together so you can understand clearly how it works. Welcome to the DOB Now build tutorial for withdrawal of an applicant of record. This video tutorial would help you transition from the current process to the new process as of December 2020. So let's begin. Right now, I'm going to log in as the design professional or the professional engineer that's going to be initiating the withdrawal of applicant of record. Once I'm in, I'm going to select alterations from DOB Now build, which will take me to my dashboard. I'm currently on my job filings dashboard, where I would now either search for the job filing if I'm not associated to it by job number or PIN. But here I'm going to search by the filing status since I know I'm associated to the job. Just a key guideline to remember, only the applicant of record or the owner can initiate a withdrawal. So for example, I tried it here and the system told me only the applicant or owner on the filing can create a withdrawal request. So I'm going to show you what it looks like when you actually are. So I'm going to click yes. It would ask me to confirm. I'd like to start off. And then it would take me to the withdrawal request form. Now, you have to be mindful of the email address that you're logged in as, since this would be automatically listed as the requester and it cannot be edited. Next, you should verify the information, and then you're going to enter the reason for your withdrawal in the comments box where it has that required asterisk. I'm just writing something that I think is appropriate. And then I am going to scroll back to the top and then click save. Now, once you click save, a couple of things happens to the top of the request form. Your status bar appears, which you see here now. Your withdrawal request number. And then there's a few quick action buttons that appear to the right as well. Now, you could head to the job filing number from the request highlights by clicking on the job filing number. And here you could check out the details of the parent job filing or the initial filing associated to the request. Now, moving on to documents. If you feel like there are any additional supporting documents to support your request, you can upload those things here by clicking the Add New Document button. Now, as we move on to statements and signatures, there are a couple guidelines here as well. If the requester is the applicant of record, both the owner and the applicant of record will be required to attest. However, if the owner is the requester, then only the owner's attestation will be required to be signed. Because earlier I said I'm in as the applicant of record, I am going to check this box and then save. And I'm also going to log in behind the scenes as the owner and show you how that box is checked as well. So now I'm actually in as the owner. I am going to show you how you could find that withdrawal that's in pre-filing. And I did that by clicking on the left menu and then going to withdrawal and supersedes. Now I'm just going to skim through my other withdrawals and supersedes, and then I see that the one that's in pre-filing, and I'm just going to double click on it. I'm going to head straight to statements and signatures and then check that box and hit save. And that's all that's required by the owner. Now I'm going to head back to the applicant of records dashboard in order to submit the request. For the changes to reflect, I hit refresh and I'm going to check the statements and signatures, and now you can see that the owner has signed. I'm now going to click submit, confirm, and then you see my status bar updates to pending QA assignment. I'm not sure if you noticed that I didn't pay, and that's because there is no fee associated to the withdrawal request. Now, from within the withdrawal request, the status will say pending QA assignment, but I would just like to show you what it looks like out on the dashboard as well. See, so here it also says pending QA assignment. Now, the job filing status would say on hold pending withdrawal of applicant of record. Now, once the request is approved, the job filing status will change to on hold applicant of record withdrawn as shown here. So as I end this video tutorial, I would like to show you a table which shows the impact on other transactions other than job filings and the request. This was the withdrawal of an applicant of record video tutorial. All right. So I just have a couple of things I want to talk about in terms of inspections. After the applicant of record withdrawal, DOB NOW inspections will not allow users to schedule new inspections on the permit when the job filing status changes to on hold pending PE or RA withdrawal. If the inspections were already requested before the withdrawal request and scheduled while awaiting the DOB decision on the request, the inspection will be performed as scheduled. Now, if the withdrawal request is rejected, the permit status changes to signed off if inspections were received while the withdrawal request was in process. If inspection results were received while the withdrawal request was in process, the permit status changes to on hold pending PE or RA withdrawn when approved. So I hope the video helped piece everything together. Now, I'm also going to do that for the upcoming pieces as well. But before I move on to withdrawal of a contractor, I have a knowledge check just to make sure that I was clear. If the requester is the applicant of record, both the owner and the applicant of record will be required to attest. True or false? And I gave you 45 seconds there. And then I'm going to actually share the results, so I would know if to recap again. So while the remaining seconds are coming in, we're going to move on to one of the most convenient features of DOB NOW Build as well in our last release, which is withdrawal of a contractor. Now, in DOB NOW, the owner or contractor can now file a contractor withdrawal request on work permits by completing a few steps. You would have to be associated to the job filing in order to proceed. However, the permit status must either be permit issued and not signed off in order to initiate the request. And the poll results are in. Yes, the answer is true. If the requester is the applicant of record, both parties need to sign. If it's the owner, only the owner. So back to this. You cannot initiate a withdrawal prior to permit issued. To begin, it's a bit different from initiating the withdrawal of an applicant of record because you'd have to flip to the work permits dashboard or locate the applicable work permit and then select request withdraw from the filing actions drop-down list. So I showed you how to toggle where I have number 1, because before you would have been on job filings, but now you need to toggle to work permit since this concerns the work permit. But the same rules apply. Once initiated, the person that made the request would be identified in the system as the requester, and only the requester can submit the withdrawal request. The first step would be to verify the information displayed in the General Information tab, and then scroll down to enter the details of the withdrawal request, and then click Save. So again, only the contractor or owner associated to the work permit should initiate the withdrawal request. This time, if the owner initiates, the owner could complete the attestation. If the contractor initiates, the contractor can attest. So this one is vice versa. After the first save, same thing again, the system will display the status bar and request number, which can be used to track the progress. And then the request workflow includes pre-filing, pending QA assignment, QA review, and then the result of approved or rejected. Now, the same quick action buttons to the right also appear, and you could use that again to find the job filing associated to the request. The Pay Now button isn't there as well again because there are no fees associated to the withdrawal request. So that's 2 freebies. Moving on to the second tab, Documents. Documents may not display if there aren't any required documents here as well, but if you feel like there are documents you can provide to support your request, select the plus add new document button to upload them. Now, when you move on to the Statements and Signatures tab, remember this time I said the person that initiated the withdrawal request would have to complete the attestation and then save and submit the request. So let's talk about what happens when you submit. A series of things occur here. The permit will change to on hold pending contractor withdrawal while the filing is being processed. All stakeholders associated to the job filing will receive an email notification. The permit status will then change to stop work contractor withdrawn, and the contractor that submitted the request would only have read-only access to the permit or job filing. Now, once the request is approved, here are some important things to remember once the status is in stop work contractor withdrawn. No permit renewals can be initiated or submitted. The AHV status will change to stop work contractor withdrawn. However, the additional permits within the job filing will not be impacted. And then lastly, the additional contractor withdrawal requests will not be allowed until the withdrawn contractor is replaced on the permit. So it's kind of similar across the board. Now, if the request is rejected, the job filing will just revert to the prior status and the contractor or owner must submit a new request. The contractor or owner will have to resolve any discrepancies issued on the previous request, and the stakeholder associated to the job filing, all stakeholders will receive an email notification. So again, what I'm going to do is piece together what I just said via video so it would come together better, and then we would talk about inspections. In this demo, I'll be going over one of the most convenient features of DOB Now build in our December 2020 release, the withdrawal of a contractor. In DOB Now, the contractor owner can now file a contractor withdrawal request on permits by completing a few steps. You have to be associated to the job filing in order to proceed. However, the permit status must either be permit issued and not signed off in order to initiate the request. You cannot initiate a withdrawal request prior to the permit issued. Let's begin. To begin, ensure that you're on your work permits dashboard by selecting from the side panel action menu, Work Permits. You would then locate the applicable work permit and then select Request Withdraw from the File and Actions drop-down list. The system would then prompt you to confirm you would like to proceed, click Yes, and then the general information of the withdrawal request is displayed. Once initiated, the person that made the request would be identified in the system as the requester, and only the requester can submit the withdrawal request. The first step would be to verify the information displayed in the General Information tab, then scroll down to enter the details of the withdrawal request and then click Save. After the first or initial save, the system displays the status bar and request number, which can be used to track the progress. On the right, there are some quick action buttons as well. In order to view the job filing associated to the withdrawal request, click Request Highlights to the right of the screen. So here I just clicked on it so you can see that I could find the details of the parent job filing. On my Documents tab, documents may not display if there aren't any required documents to be uploaded. However, should you feel free that there are documents you can provide to support your request, select the plus Add New Document button to upload them. Hereafter, move on to the Statements and Signatures tab, where the person that initiated the withdrawal request should have completed the attestation and then save and submit the request. A notification confirmation window will pop up confirming that the request was submitted. When the request is submitted, a series of things occur. The permit will change to on hold pending contractor withdrawal while the filing is being processed. All stakeholders associated to the job filing will receive an email notification. The permit status will then change to stop work contractor withdrawn, and the contractor that submitted the request would only have read-only access to the permit or job filing. To view the status of the withdrawal, head to the Side Action panel and select Withdrawal and Supersede. And then you would see the various request statuses for each withdrawal and supersede that you're associated to. As you can see here, the one I just submitted is in pending QA assignment. However, if you look at this other one that was already approved, it says withdrawal of contractor approved, and then this one below that was rejected, it says rejected. Now let's head back to the work permits dashboard where we could check the status of that work permit. And now it says on hold pending contractor withdrawal. I just want to quickly show you what it looks like when a PE logs in and how they could check the status on their work permit as well, a different way from within the job filing actually. So I'm heading into build and then I'm going to just filter my column to search for my job number. So you see me do that using the column. And then when the job filing opens, I'm going to head to the PW2 section in order to see the status on the work permit. So this is an internal view. And then here you see it says on hold contractor withdrawal. I'm just clicking to take you back to the work permit details. However, remember, inspections cannot be scheduled on permits that has a status of on hold pending contractor withdrawn. If an inspection was already requested before the withdrawal request, the inspection will be performed. If the inspection results were received while the withdrawal request was in progress, if rejected, the permit status changes to signed off. If approved, it changes to on hold pending contractor withdrawn. Now, to place a contractor that was withdrawn, you can simply select Renewal with Changes when you're renewing your work permit. And that way you can add or change the contractor on the permit. This was the video tutorial for withdrawal of a contractor for the DOB Now December 2020 release. Okay. So I just mentioned a couple of things I want to recap before I move on. Inspections cannot be scheduled on permits that have a status of on hold pending contractor withdrawn. But if an inspection was already requested before the withdrawal request, the inspection will be performed. If the inspection results were received while the withdrawal request was in progress, if rejected, it changes to signed off. If approved, it changes to on hold pending contractor withdrawn. Now, before I get into supersede of an applicant of record, here's a reminder that adding new contractors are done when you're renewing a work permit with changes. If you were in one of our previous sessions, you would have seen us do that, but I'll just recap. To replace a contractor that was withdrawn, you can simply select renewal with changes to add or change the contractor on the permit. I believe there's a video out there of us doing that from a previous session, so you can check that out as well. So let's do another knowledge check before we move on to supersede of an applicant. True or false? A withdrawal of a contractor could be initiated and submitted prior to permit issued. A withdrawal of a contractor could be initiated and submitted prior to permit issued. True or false? And I'll give you some seconds to answer that. And then we would switch over to supersede of an applicant of record in DOB now. There are just a few additional questions to complete, but it's pretty much almost the same process. And while we wait for the poll results, I'll begin. So to replace an existing applicant of record or withdraw an applicant of record on a job filing, you will need to you need to request a supersede. You would only be able to file the request on the initial subsequent filings, like the withdrawal. The request option will only display if the permit is issued and not LOC issued, and well, if another withdrawal or supersede request is pending on the filing. Yes, the answer is false. It's post-permit only. Once you're eligible to be the applicant of record, most likely you'd have to use the search because the filing would not be on your dashboard. So if you're associated to the job filing, it's on your dashboard, you could initiate from there. But I'd like to tell you, you should probably use search, like the screenshots I have here, and you could search by job number. Once the results come up, you would then ensure it's in like permit entire where I have number 5, and then you would select supersede from the drop down. And of course, I would also demo this as well. So once the supersede request form displays after you click that supersede option, you would see that the email field is grayed out again, since whoever initiated the request would automatically be identified as the requester. And only the requester could submit the supersede request. So once you see the correct email in there, you would then select the license type and business name from the drop-down list. Now you could also verify the owner and applicant's information since it displays within the general information tab. And then once you confirm that, you would then scroll down to complete the questions within the documents or waiver section. Now, I'd explain the reasoning behind these questions in my upcoming slides, but once you answer these, you then enter the reason of the supersede or comments within the comment section. Now, once you click save, you would be able to then move on to the other tabs as usual, but at this point, the supersede request number will be generated, the status bar, and also the quick action buttons to the right as usual. If you would like to find the job filing associated to it, all you'd have to do is hit request highlights, and you could then head to the job filing from there. So earlier I mentioned these questions within the document waiver section, and depending on how they're answered, you will then be required to upload these documents in the Documents tab. So for example, saying yes to updated plans, will then require you to upload the new plans to each work type associated to the job filing when you get down to the Documents tab. So just be mindful of how you're answering these questions in the General Information tab. And then when you move on to Documents, you would see what is required and what's not required. Now, once the documents are uploaded, head on to the Statements and Signatures tab where the applicant and owner must attest. Unless you're fee exempt, there is a $100 filing fee that must be paid before submitting the request. All right, so here there's a relationship of 2. Now, once the supersede request is submitted, the internal review process depends on the filing type. For standard plan, those requests would go to the CP or ACP review, and then for ProfCert, those reviews go through QE. Now, once the supersede is in progress, you will not be able to file another supersede or a withdrawal request. The job filing status updates to on hold pending supersede of applicant of record, but you will still be able to file L2 requests. So if you look at my screenshot, request L2 was still there in the drop down, even though it says on hold pending supersede of applicant of record. Now, if the supersede request is rejected, it cannot be resubmitted. Just like the others, just submit a new request and rectify any discrepancies you received in the previous request. The status of the job filing will be returned to the status prior to the supersede request submission. Again, I put together a table showing you the effect on all other processes. So once it's submitted for review, the job filing, the permit, the HV, and the LOCs all go under on hold pending supersede of applicant of record. Once it's approved, everything would return to the status prior to supersede request being submitted. I just have some more guidelines. Since a stakeholder may have multiple roles on a job filing, only the role identified in the supersede would automatically be updated once the request is approved. All right, so you don't have to worry about anything after that. Once it's approved, everything would change or update automatically throughout the job filing. The system also updates the documents that you replaced on the job filing once the request is approved. So if also an AI1 form is uploaded, then the AI1 document will be attached to the initial subsequent filing respectively. So previously I also said, like, if you say yes to updating plans, those plans that got approved would then replace these over here. You cannot file a supersede request on a PAA, but if a PAA is in progress, the job filing will be updated to display the superseded stakeholder in the application highlights section with the label previous applicant of record, where I've highlighted there. If the PAA was approved before the supersede was approved, the PAA will not be impacted or changed. I'm going to go through inspections this time before I actually play the video. You cannot schedule inspections on the work permit when the filing status changes to on hold or pending PE or RA superseding. If inspections were already requested before the supersede request, the inspection will be conducted. The results will be posted in DOB inspections, but the filing status would read on hold pending PE or RA superseding. So let's head into the system where you could see Welcome to the DOB Now Build video tutorial for supersede of an applicant of record. You'll need to request a supersede to replace an existing applicant of record or a withdrawn applicant of record on a job filing. The process is somewhat similar to a withdrawal, with just a few extra steps. So as I'm logging in as the applicant of record, I'd like to just remind you that you would only be able to file the request on the initial or subsequent filing, and you would not be able to initiate one if one is already in progress or pending on the filing. So let's begin. Now, once you're eligible to be the applicant, you could search for the job filing. So I just logged into DOB Now and I clicked alterations in order to head to my dashboard. To initiate the supersede request, search by job number, and then head to the filing action and select supersede from the drop-down list. The system will then ask me to confirm. I'll click yes, and the screen refreshes to display the request information. Now here, you can see that the name, the email address auto-populated. I then have to select my license type and business name. You can also review the owner and the current applicant of record information that was there previously. And as you continue to scroll down, you'll have to click on the document or waiver drop-down accordion to complete the questions on if any plans are changing. You'll then click on the comments accordion and then enter the reason or your comments on your supersede request. Now, a few things happen when you click save. Let's take a look. The status bar now appears to the top. Your supersede request number also shows to the top left, as you see here. And then your quick action buttons appear to the right of the screen. So as we move on to documents, earlier I mentioned that these questions within the document waiver section in the general information tab, depending on how they're answered, you will be then required to upload documents in the document tab. So here I'm just showing you that I said yes. So now I have to upload the plans and the GPL signature form as well. So I'm just fast forwarding through this process since I have to repeat it twice. And now let's move on to the statements and signature tab. So the superseding applicant will be required to attest, and the owner as well. So here I'm just attesting as the superseding applicant, and then I'll switch over and attest as the owner as well. So now that the owner attested, what I'm going to do is refresh my page so you can see that attestation update when I click back on the statements and signature tab. And then next up, I'm going to pay that $100 filing fee. In this tutorial, I'm just initiating. I'm not going to go over the payment process since that did not change. So once your payment was successful, when you return to the screen, you would see a prompt saying payment has been made. You just click OK in order to proceed. Next, you're going to hit save as a best practice before you submit. Now, once you hit submit, the internal review process depends on the filing type. So if your job filing was standard plan, it would go to CP, ACB review. In this case, it's a ProfSert, so it's going to go to QA supervisor review or under ProfSert review. So as you see here, the status bar now says QA supervisor review. So now I just want to show you what that looks like from on the dashboard, the different statuses. So on the job filing, you can see here it would say on hold pending supersede of applicant of record. So that's that there. Now I would like to show you what it looks like from on the work permits dashboard for the permit associated to the job filing. So the same status applies, which is on hold pending supersede of applicant of record. So I'm just going to expand the column a little bit so you can see that. So before I continue, I just want to show you lastly the AHV dashboard to show you what that associated AHV permit status looks like as well, which is same thing, on hold pending supersede of applicant of record. Now I'm going to move this filing along so you can see how the status updates as it goes through the system. So now it's actually under review, and then I'm going to refresh again so you can see what it looks like when it's approved by DOB. So before I move this request into approved, I just want to display this table for a quick bit so you could understand the overall impact on other processes associated to the job filing that the request was made on. Now, on the request itself, other than the status bar, you can check from the request highlights the status of the job filing. Here you can see it reverts to permit entire, that hold comes off. And the request status, again, at the bottom, you could see it says Supersede Applicant of Record Approved. Now let's see what that looks like out on the dashboard. So from on the job filing dashboard, you would see, again, it reverted to permit entire. And you can also check the status of your withdrawal and supersede from selecting it from the quick menu on the left. And you would see it says Supersede Applicant of Record Approved here as well. This was the video tutorial for Supersede of an Applicant of Record in DOB Now build. All right, so just to all of the videos I used today are already out on YouTube, so you could always replay them if needed, even while you're doing it. Maybe have my voice in the background while you're actually attempting to do one. All right, so now for the final knowledge check. Supersede requests cannot be filed on a PAA record. True or false? Supersede requests cannot be filed on a PAA record. True or false? And you just have a few more seconds to do that. And then we would go through the learning objectives we met, and some helpful resources and links. While we wait for the results to load, I'm going to begin. So you should now be able to understand the differences between withdrawal of a PA or RA or contractor. You should know the workflow between withdrawal and supersede. You can now recognize the DOB status bar for prior to submit approval, and then how it reverts to what it was before if it's rejected. The answer to the question was false. I see most of you guys put true. So sorry, the answer is true. Sorry. The answer is true. But because so many got false, I'm just going to recap here that supersede requests cannot be filed on a PAA record. Any previously approved PAAs will continue to display the applicant of record. Any PAA transactions that were previously approved before the supersede approval will stay as is and won't be updated. All right, I'm just going to skip forward here. So there's a great deal of information out on the DOB website. From your browser, navigate to nyc.gov/DOBNowInfo. You would find a recording of this presentation, guides, manuals, presentations, upcoming sessions. We have a bunch of stuff in February as well, so you can look out for that. For inquiries and further assistance, if you didn't get your question answered today, and you need further help, you could head to nyc.gov/DOBNowHelp to submit any additional inquiries you may have. Also, a survey will be emailed to you, and we encourage you to provide your feedback so we can enhance these sessions to better serve you. And as you see, we did incorporate most of the features you guys wanted. So now what I'm going to do is hand it back over to the host, where we will stay on for a bit longer so you could ask more questions in the Q&A window. Thank you again.